Hello Cancer, and welcome to your monthly horoscope for January 2023 for the Sun or the Ascendant. I'm going to give you a broad outline of what to expect, but please stay with me because I will then dive deep to give you in forensic detail all the key dates and influences particularly relevant to your sign. Now, of course, as we come into this new year, we have the solar return, and there's a lot of emphasis on your relationship sector, not least because the Sun is always in this location, but this year Mercury is in a retrograde as you come into the new year. So relationship communication is likely to be quite a hot topic throughout the whole of the next 12 months, but particularly in January, but also Venus and Pluto. Venus, the planet of relating, but also the planet of sensual pleasures. Well, that's in a conjunction with Pluto, the planet of power. So this set of influences gives you real opportunities to connect with people this month, but also potentially in 2023. But clarity of communication is going to be critical. Now, on the 6th, we have a full moon in your sign. Now, because the moon is your ruling planet, in a way it could be argued that this is perhaps the least powerful full moon for you to encounter of the year because the moon is in its dignity. But on the other side of the heavens, Mercury in that retrograde, very close to the Sun in Capricorn. So how you see relationships and how other people see relationships may be open to different interpretations in the following 2 weeks, particularly because Uranus, the planet of change, but also restlessness, is in the mix as well. So I need to tell you about that. And of course, Mars, since the end of August last year, has been in your 12th house, which has been quite tricky, particularly through October and November, the first week of December, when it was in a square with Neptune, which was really amplifying sensitivities in your situation to a larger extent. But that does go forwards on the 12th, so great news there. And then later this month, we have a new moon in the part of your horoscope to do with shared resources and business. So a lot to tell you about, really exciting stuff. Please stay with me for more. But if you would like to understand what this year will hold for you personally and ascending above this zodiac broadcast, if you give me 3 pieces of birth data of time, date and place of birth, I can give you your forecast for the year. If you order it at the end of year 2022, you get the rest of that year free. But also my special package of 30% off, you will get your life roadmap, your character analysis, which can help you to understand some repetitive patterns that may have come up in your situation, but it can also help you to seize opportunities with greater conviction. I will also, in my package, give you your 12 zodiac sign written forecast for each of the signs, which gives you something to go back to as we go through this new year. Please see the link below for more. Also, if you're new to my channel, thank you for joining me. Please click and tap on the bell notification symbol if you'd like to become a subscriber. For all ongoing subscribers, thank you so much for your support. So Cancer, as you come into the new year, so the Sun, as ever, in Capricorn, but Mercury in that retrograde, Venus and Pluto in a tight conjunction. This does suggest that relationship matters are going to be rather fated in 2023, perhaps as early as the first month. Of course, Mercury retrograde, you will know, can create some cross wires, misunderstandings. Anything to do with ticketing, travel, technology, transport, all those can be really afflicted by a Mercury retrograde. But of course, the sign of Capricorn is very much about structures, very well established organizations. So if you are trying to reach out and interact with those more established organizations, that could cause some frustrations. But in a more positive sense, Mercury retrograde in this area can get you thinking even more not just about how you feel about relationships, but how the other person felt too. So you can turn this very much into a positive, particularly on the back of that full moon in your sign of the 6th, because Uranus is the planet in mythology which governs the sky, but for you in the sign of Taurus, it's very much to do with your future expectations and hopes. It's really very idealistic. So I feel the potential to have some franker discussions or thoughts around certain key ties is definitely helped by Uranus, but how this comes about in the following 2 weeks may be quite suddenly or unexpectedly, like you could have a sudden perspective in the middle of the night, that proverbial light bulb moment, which helps to throw extra perceptiveness into a situation that may have felt a bit stuck. But also, Mercury retrograde in your 7th house of relationships could see some kind of renewal around a relationship which had previously petered out. This won't necessarily be a romantic tie, although it's not impossible. And Venus's conjunction with Pluto really ups the ante in terms of the intensity around certain interactions. But because Pluto in retrograde since the end of October has really been dragging up from the depths some quite deep hurts, angers, or old issues, it's possible that the conjunction between Venus and Pluto can tease into the open things that have been hidden. And Venus can be about desire, so you may have a desire for an improvement around your relationships. Or it could mean that someone's going to come into your world this month or this year who has an amazingly powerful impact on your whole existence. Now, I should just say that in week 1, Venus and Jupiter, the 2 planets of fortune in astrology, are in a sextile. And this is because on the 3rd of the month, Venus moves into your 8th solar house. But in a disassociate way, it is still in a sextile right at the start of the month. And this is because Jupiter, as we begin this year, is in your sector of success. So Venus moving into Aquarius on the 3rd can trigger some improvements around your financial situation, and it could be linked to a business or a property. Now, I'm very well aware that we're facing, all of us collectively, huge headwinds when it comes to the cost of living. So I don't say this lightly, but these are known as the lesser and greater benefits, and they could see something manifest for you that's really exciting. But Venus moving into the 8th house can also give you greater desire around intimacy, and that's something Venus's conjunction with Pluto, because Pluto governs the sign of Scorpio, the 8th house. So Venus moving into your 8th house in terms of your solar horoscope, well, that's could potentially give you even greater desire to get much closer to one special person. Whether it will happen this month or not, that's to be seen. But I think that as Venus comes into a conjunction with Saturn around about the 21st, and that's when we have the new moon in the sign of Aquarius, I think when it comes to a business matter, you're going to get some firm news at that point. And it could be good news. It could be that maybe there's going to need to be a new start, but the potential to work well with people in a collegiate manner is really given to you by that solar return at the start of this month. Now, I mentioned before about the full moon in your sign. The position of Uranus sextiles the moon and trines up the sun. So from the 3rd through till the 9th, very important to be as open-minded as possible. One of your defaults, Cancer, is that you can be very protected, very sensitive, very caring, very nurturing, but you do perhaps like to be in control because you're a cardinal sign, one of the 4 leader signs, along with Aries, Libra and Capricorn, as well as your own sign. And I think what this full moon is saying to you is perhaps this is the time, with Uranus in the mix, to have a little bit more daring about your approach to interactions. The more you open up, the more you can gain, but you may feel this is counterintuitive because it means that you could lose. And that's something that perhaps in the past you've tried to avoid conflict, confrontation, in order to squirrel yourself away in the sand, if you like, as the crab, to protect yourself. But I think Uranus is saying, try to be a bit bolder. If you believe in something, go with it. You're not going to win all the time, but you're much more likely to have a breakthrough than if you play permanently in safe mode. Now on the 12th, Mars goes direct. And I think this is really going to be helpful. It's going to move into your sign on the 25th of March. But through till then, it is remaining in your 12th house. So all outstanding issues linked to your past that have caused unhappiness can still be reviewed, but I feel that it will be less burdensome in this part of the transit. Also, on the 18th, Mercury goes direct. So if you have been waiting to hear back about something, contract, you've reached out to someone, you've opened up in a relationship context, could be that good news comes in then. The 20th, however, sees the Sun go into your 8th house, joining up with Venus and Saturn. And then we have on the 21st the new moon. But this is a new moon which is glittering because it forges a sextile to the planet of fortune, Jupiter, in your sector of success, goals and ambitions. So the new moon is very businesslike. And of course, as I mentioned before, Venus is conjunct Saturn. So you could have some big decisions to make at that exact date or in the following month. But if you are someone who's quite entrepreneurial, I feel the stars are set fair for you. Just to say, you're also going to have 2 new moons in your 10th house this year, as well as the North Node enter into your 10th house on the 13th of July. And of those 2 moons, one is a solar eclipse in April. And that is actually going to be squaring up with Pluto, but it is also going to be conjunct Jupiter. So if you're someone who really wants to revolutionize your role in life, your public standing, to grab greater acclaim and recognition, 2023, as long as you can work with those relationship issues, could turn out to be absolutely stunning for you. And this new moon gives you a flavour of that. But it could also see you needing to give up one form of income which is not working for you, and that may be the Venus conjunction with Saturn. The 22nd also sees Uranus go direct, the ruler of Aquarius. And that's been in retrograde since the 24th of August last year. If you have felt a bit unsure about what your future direction will hold, it wouldn't be a surprise. Uranus, of course, is a very erratic influence at the best of times. But on the 27th, Venus moves into your sister water sign of Pisces. Venus loves being here, it's exalted. Of course, you have Neptune here. But Venus forges a really lovely link to Jupiter just at the end of this month, so that's something to savour. Also, in the last week of this month, the Sun in Aquarius forges a stunning angle to Jupiter, reflecting that new moon. But quite excitingly, the Sun also links to Mars. So those 2 links are both very decisive, action-oriented links. Jupiter in the sign of Aries, another cardinal sign like you, is much more risk-taking. Mars in the sign of Gemini is very much to do with how we think and communicate our ideas. So it may be that you're going to have a very big but frank discussion towards the end of this month, which could actually be really very important indeed. And it may mean that someone is going to ask you to look at some ways, some of your modes of being, which you could find quite challenging, but try to be up for it. And I feel that's the story of this month. Be open to possibilities, but those possibilities mean that you may have to put your innate need to be very private or protected, or sometimes even defensive, to one side, and be a bit more out there to see where it takes you. Because I think if you can have that more daring approach, it can really give you some fundamental dividends that really please you, in spite of all those fiscal headwinds we are all facing. It's been a real pleasure being with you, Cancer. Thank you so much for joining me. Wishing you all the best for 2023.